Welcome to Talk About Games, Gadget 360's weekly gaming show. I'm the games editor Rishi Alwani and your resident newbie. Now, before we get started today's show, I would like to thank each and every one of you who've commented, who've talked about us, who've spread the word to your friends. And for those of you who have shared your feedback, we really appreciate it and expect it to take shape in future episodes to come. Now, with that out of the way, let's get started with today's show. With me today, I have Vaibhav, who is the founder of Underdogs Gaming Studio. He's been making games for the better part of 10 years, everything ranging from parking simulators to games about finding a dog and perhaps a night in the museum or between. And we have him today to talk to you about how you can bring your game to Steam and what matters about bringing your game to Steam. So Vaibhav, a bit more about yourself.
I'm a computer engineer by qualification, right? But I never wanted to get into this IT culture. Since long, when I was introduced to video games, I always tried to figure out the science behind making the games more than playing the games. Right? Although I played a lot of them, but this keen urge of figuring out how things are made took me to get into game designing. So I started my career as a game designer in India Games back in 2007. Since then, it's been around a decade now. Worked for a lot of big companies in India, and then when I was very sure of making the whole game and the business behind it, I settled down with my own venture, which is Underdogs in 2011.
All right, now why would you choose Steam to be making your games? In the past, you've made games for mobile. You've made them for the Amazon store. You've made them for the Play Store. You even made them for Tizen.
Right.
So why would you take the jump to Steam?
See, everyone who has played quality games and desired to make one always dreamt of making one for the main platforms like PC and consoles. In my case, when I started Underdogs, Flash games were doing really well, and mobile games were just picking up. But the ground reality was the bigger picture was always PC and consoles, right? So yeah, so when I started doing it, my plan was simple. The plan was to make small games and make name for the company and myself, and eventually 4-5 years down the line, I'll get into PC. That was something which was pre-decided.
So essentially, it was a question of getting your skills in the right shape for the biggest platform that you want to target.
Exactly.
And as well as making games that you want to make.
Right.
So how did you get on Steam?
There's this, as an individual, as a game designer, there's always this thing in me to tell stories, right? Since I've done theaters, I still do theaters. I have this keen urge of telling stories to people, and I think PC is the right platform because the audience on PC are far more open to innovation and storytelling compared to mobile, right? But the kind of stories that I wanted to tell, these would be definitely suiting the audience globally on PC rather than on mobile. That's the reason that, and the other thing is there are a lot of even the games that we are making, right, like Mukti. There are a lot of things to be done in the game which I don't think any other platform could have supported. Like mobile, it's too limited, right? There are a lot of limitations to take a game like Mukti on mobile. So the concept and the idea is huge, and that's why the platform is also huge.
Yeah, for those of you who are unaware, this is while Vaibhav has 2 games on Steam. One of them is Mukti, which is a game where you explore a museum and there's an element of human trafficking to it. He also has a second game called Till the Dawn Waiting, which is about you and your dog and the emotional journey that continues therewith. India has had a history of games on Steam in the past. One of the first games to ever make it on Steam was from Hyderabad-based Blue Giant Studios, which was a strategy game that didn't do too well. And then after that, we had games from DSK Green Ice, which was called Death Gods University, which also didn't do too well, particularly because in both cases, there wasn't too much effort on customer care. Because usually what happens when the game is out on Steam and people buy it, there tend to be some teething issues, such as game not working on a certain machine, and or the fact that certain control options don't work. And those bugs tend to crop up on day one. So considering that Underdogs has one game on Steam and another one which is coming up soon, how do you manage situations like this?
even before Mukti, we had one big idea, right? But we thought taking that big idea directly onto Steam wouldn't be a great idea, because we never published a game on Steam, right? So there was a need to learn the process of taking a game to PC. That is why Mukti came to life. But since when we started working on Mukti, we got more into detailing the game, and it again was a long process. Fortunately, there was this game jam that happened last year in November. And we participated in it. We made a small prototype for this game called Till the Dawn. And when we took the game to the audience at the conference, we realized that there is a lot of potential in the game. So the game basically acted as a pre-game for us to learn a lot of things that we can utilize for Mukti, because we learned a lot, like right from the process of taking the game to the store, listing the game on the store, to taking it live, and then managing the users and the reviews, plus the kind of deadlines that you have usually on Steam of putting the game and then the review feedback and all that. So we never knew all these things unless we tried pushing one game.
So would you suggest this approach to someone who's just starting out or wants to get a game on Steam, where you release a smaller game first and then the game you want to release?
I would definitely recommend, see, if you can't do a small game up on Steam, at least be a part of some game which someone is already taking it live, right? Because it teaches you a lot, because that's what we experienced in the whole process of taking Till the Dawn to the Steam. So I definitely recommend working with someone who's already doing some stuff.
So coming back to Till Dawn, Till the Dawn, you did mention, I mean, this is something you told us before the show started, where the game is like 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
Now it's 40 minutes long. It's, I think, 165 rupees and $3.99 in the US. And do you see people refunding the game after the 40-minute period? Because Steam has a 2-hour refund policy.
Right.
So for those of you who are unaware, Steam will let you refund a game if you've played less than 2 hours in. Now with a 40-minute game, are you seeing that?
So one thing is the kind of people we have got for the game, right? When we were making the game, we were very sure that there is very smaller audience for this kind of game. It's a simple narrative-based storytelling game, right? But we've realized that none of the players actually did a refund for us till now. But so one problem is visibility that we don't have actually right now. But the amount of players who played the game have given us a great feedback on the game, like not just on the Steam store and the reviews, but we have around 50 different articles from people around the world writing about the game. We have seen videos on YouTube that YouTubers have posted where they actually are not able to get themselves up, because that's the kind of emotional impact that it's giving on the people who are playing the game.
So what would you suggest the developers to do if they want to get the game on Steam? Sure, you did say a little earlier that yes, taking part in an existing project does help. But what else would you suggest for reviewers? I mean, sorry, for developers looking to bring their games to Steam.
So I think for us also, knowing the whole process was the biggest barrier. Which fortunately we got to learn through this game. But for a new guy who is coming, who is just thinking of getting his game on Steam, I think there are a lot of things that you need to research and learn first before even getting on Steam, because there are things like the process now. Even the green light and the direct thing is the green light is gone and the direct has come. I don't think people. The new developers actually know the exact process of direct right now, because they are pretty used to know what Greenlight used to do. Things like trading cards, things like emoticons and all those things that you can integrate in the game. Then getting like talking the exact time and the moment where you actually talk about the game, creating the communities so that they can talk about the game. So all these things are very time based. and you have to understand that before even thinking of getting on Steam.
So what you're trying to say is, if I compare it to, let's say, the process of getting the game on the Play Store or on iOS, Steam gives developers a lot more tools. We're looking
Right.
at trading cards, we're looking at emoticons, we're looking at the community page, which is there as well.
Right.
And so what you're saying is a part of the process is making sure that these elements are up at the right time.
Right, right.
And so then how did you guys decide on how to go about it? Or was it just, try it with this and take the learnings for your next game?
Yeah, so the latter part. Like, so we didn't have a plan to get it on Steam at all. We just did it for fun. We made this game for fun, but when we realized the potential of the game, we thought this game will help us understand Steam better. That's one thing. Second, it will help us get Mukti smoothly on Steam. So these are the two reasons that we thought, okay, we have the game. We know that there are not much audience for this, so it's not going to affect the whole the reputation or whatever you say, because it's just going to a smaller amount of audience, right? So we thought, let's just try getting this game on Steam and learn a lot of things throughout the process.
So now, actually coming back to Underdogs games in general. Now, both your titles, which are going to be on Steam, one is which is already there, which is Till the Dawn, and the other that's coming, Mukti. They deal with concepts and topics that most Indian game studios don't touch.
Right.
Of late, we've seen games like Asura, we've seen games like Raji, we've seen games like Altered Army. All of them have a more immediate, action-oriented focus to them.
Right.
And here we're talking about games that deal with emotions, heartstrings, and discovery.
Right.
So, do you see that? What's the thought process behind going in such a direction?
I think so. In the company, I am the one who focuses on the design part, the storytelling and the design part. So it's all driving through me because I am a big fan of story-based games. So games like Dear Esther, Firewatch, Gone Home, Heavy Rains, like these games are a few of my favorite games. And since I've been a part of theaters, and telling story through games was something which was interesting me from very beginning of the studio. I used to write. I still write stories, and I think gaming as a platform would help me a lot in bringing the stories to the major audience out there. Right, so we really didn't focus on core gameplay, hardcore kind of games at all. But since it's me who writes it and designs it, I think that's coming out of me, that okay, let's do this, because even if the audience is small, we just want to do it.
So it was a question of getting the narrative first and then gameplay around it.
Yeah.
And now, while you did say that you are a fan of single player games, and this is a bit of a topical question, I'm going to throw at you right now. Last week we saw Microsoft announce Game Pass, right? And they've announced that every first-party title from Microsoft is going to be there. And there's been a lot of chatter around it, stating that this is just one more way to push games as a service, games as a subscription-based model, which could see the end of single-player narrative-driven games in the future. What's your take as a game developer, as someone in the trenches, as someone who looks at code, as someone who puts game out on Steam? Do you see this being a trend going forward?
I think that's a relative thing. Like for me, I don't think that's gonna die soon. Like there is an audience, and they are anyway going to play those kind of games, even if someone else is bringing something which is going to stop it, right? But I don't think it's going to impact it much, like you said.
Interesting. So now, playing devil's advocate here, last week on the show, for those of you who watched it, and we'll probably have a link in the description below, we had Rishi Oberoi talk about how Reliance Jio has ensured that there is enough revenue for game developers.
Right.
So a lot of them are making 2x of what they were doing a year ago. Now, the counter argument being, so if the mobile industry is, or perceived to be, as lucrative as it is right now, why even bother with Steam? Aside from obviously the fact that you want to put a game on Steam,
right.
Is there actually a good business reason to be on Steam, considering mobile seems to be this lucrative?
I don't think there's just the money part which is driving people to make games for Steam, because you rightly said mobile is doing as good as Steam now, and even better than that in coming years. So I don't think the money is the only part. There's this again. It zeroes down to the interest of getting your game on Steam. Specifically for Geo, I don't like. We are also working with Geo for the HTML5 games and the small phones, but. The numbers are out. The numbers, in the sense, the numbers of downloads and the weekly sessions are out. But the revenue part, I don't know. Those are not yet out. And if at all we see value in that, we might continue it. And I think that's the picture that every developer in India has in mind, because money is not yet being spoken in the whole process. There are numbers which are coming up, and the numbers are really good. That's for sure. But yeah, Steam versus mobile, I think money is not the only part which is driving Steam.
All right, all right. So what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in the games industry today?
I think because of this free tools and plugins and all those things that are available right now, which were not there when we started in gaming, right? Because of Unity and third-party tools. Everybody wants to make a game, right? Everybody wants to make a game, and I think the long-term plan for every developer is to have his own company or a small studio, right? So the perfect advice that I can give to someone based on my journey is, making people is more important than making money. Throughout my journey also, I made a lot of people than making money. I'm proud to say that I started my company in 2011, right? And I hired 3 people in 2011, and those 3 people are still a part of my company, and they're at the top level in my company. So it's been like 7 years, but that's what I've achieved in my whole journey, right? Games will come and go. People are the most important thing that you have to stick to.
Interesting. So that basically means, for those of you who are like me and process this information a little differently, he basically chose the Paragon route in his life if it was Mass Effect. So that's all we have for this episode of Talk About Games. Thank you so much for watching. Do leave your feedback in the comment section, or you can email us at tag@gadgets360.com. Check out our YouTube channel, stay notified so that you know when videos are up. Check out us on Instagram, Facebook, and also check out our weekly gaming podcast, Transition, for all things gaming. This is Rishi Alwani. Thank you.